What is up, and welcome back to Talking Nutrition. Today's episode 70, and I want to share something with you that I'm personally very, very proud of. We started this podcast back in July 2022. We're just over a year in, and we just passed our 10,000 downloads mark. So I wanted to thank you right off the bat. Thank you for supporting the show. Thanks for dropping us a rating on Spotify or Apple. And I know I ask for that a lot. I bring that up. And why is that? Well, it massively helps us. It really helps us grow the show. And here's the thing, right? It's for free. We absolutely love doing this. And that's why we'll keep doing this. And that's why currently we are on a, 2 episode a week streak, which I do want to keep up, to be honest with you. So for accountability, here we go. But no, really though, like, thank you. It's been super cool. Getting a lot of good questions. And once again, the ratings, they really help. So if you're one of the people who dropped us a rating, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, thank you so much. We're now 10,000 downloads in, a bunch more to go. So I'm excited. It's a little bit of a milestone, right? Now, not just that, a little bit more news too. It's currently September 7th. So we're a week into September and just about 4 days removed from our Steptember challenge, which is something I'm very much looking forward to. And I wanted to invite you. Now, I promise I'll keep this short and then we'll get into today's topic, which is related. But the Steptember challenge is something I want to bring back for a while. We did this in 2021 and it was super cool. We had a lot of fun. To be honest with you, that was our very first challenge as well. Did not know what to expect. A bunch of people signed up. People were very involved. It was really cool. And it was still like the most popular challenge we have ever done. Now, last year, didn't bring it back. Just had to focus on other things, but it's back. So this year, September 11th, we kick off our Steptember challenge. And it's going to be a yearly thing for now, or from now. Now, that being said, this will also be the only step challenge we're doing between now and like September next year. Why are we doing Steptember? Why did we bring it back? Now, we're just past summer. You already start to feel like the little bit of, the autumn mood. You see, weather gets a little bit more gray and, trees turn brown. And with that, your mood or your fitness kind of like mode tends to slow down a little bit. You have different priorities. Hey, it's not like, hey, I want to get, lean for summer. Like that's, past. It's a different period. We kind of go back to our usual routines. Summer was amazing. We did a lot of cool stuff. Hopefully you got a great vacation in, or maybe even just a weekend. But now we're moving into kind of like that little bit of, colder season. And with that, I see a lot of people maybe slow down with their fitness, with their health, a little bit less motivated, a little bit less willing to go to the gym, to move, to get a walk in. And that's exactly why we brought this back, because if you've been looking for a sign to, actually kind of pick things back up again, like feel more motivated, get shit done, and step up for your health, like let this be your sign, because it's going to be a great reason for you to get active, more active, to get the accountability, because we're going to do this together. I'm going to join you. For 21 days, we'll be setting step targets every single day. We're going to bring that up on a weekly basis. So we have week 1, 2, 3, getting a little bit more challenging per week. But here's the thing. It's not just whoever hits the most steps. That would be too simple. And unfair as well, because some people, right, literally walk around at their jobs. Others, like myself personally, I sit here in my little office or a stand. I do have a stand-up, desk. But like, I have to like go out of my way to get a walk in. And I don't mind doing that, but there's a difference there. So to keep it fair for everyone, you're going to be rewarded for showing up. It's not necessarily like whoever gets the most steps. It would be too easy, too unfair. So we're going to hit steps, but you're going to get rewarded for showing up daily and hitting that daily target. We're going to also introduce weekly bonus tasks, meaning every week you get a little bit of extra homework to get done. It's going to be super simple, super basic, but that's to hold you accountable and to give you more bonus points. And these are going to count heavily towards your points. Now, with that, we're going to do live trainings as well. So every single week, we'll go live via Zoom, do live trainings, Q&A sessions. So you have access to me as your coach, plus access to our online community for accountability, guidance, right? Motivation. It's so you see, it's like way more than just steps. It's going to be cool. It's $20 to join. And with that, you get a chance to win one-on-one coaching, group coaching, or a gift card for $50 to whatever local fitness store or website, wherever you live, right? We have an international bunch of people listening, so it depends where you're from. But either way, we'll figure that out for you. So that being said, $20, right? Not too bad. Kind of worth it if you think about it. Even if it's just for like the actual health benefits that you're going to get from getting active as we educate you on nutrition. Because here's the cool thing. That's why we do those live trainings. I know the steps, it's a basic thing. It's more about doing. And we all kind of know we should be moving, but okay, cool. Like, are you doing the thing? Like, that's number one. But then in the meantime, let's touch on whatever you struggle with. Let's talk about the things that you need help with. Is it meal prep? Is it just building meals in general? Is it something else? Are you going to work towards a muscle gain or fat loss goal? The list goes on. That's all stuff we can dive into. So that being said, let me just kind of like wrap this up because I know you want to get into the topic today. So basically, if you want to join, make sure to sign up. You only have a few more days left to sign up. We kick off September 11th, so that is on Monday. I will drop the link in the show notes at the very top as well as the very bottom. There's no way you can miss it, right? Go to that link, check out. There's a little recap in the doc that'll show you exactly right when we go live, those kind of things, which, by the way, the replays will always be shared. So even if you cannot make it to those live calls, you're still going to be able to ask questions beforehand, and I'll still send over the replay to you. So that's all good. So sign up via the link in the show notes. Now, let's get into the episode. I wanted to revisit one of my favorite topics to talk about, NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Fancy word for the calories you burn through daily movement. I wrote a blog a little while ago. And the thing that triggered me to write this was I overheard someone. I think this was I overheard someone be like, "Ah, the 10,000 K." I overheard someone be like, "Yeah, the 10,000 steps thing. That's just marketing. It's bullshit. It's just a way to get people to buy their fitness trackers." And hey, let me say this: like, it kind of originates from marketing, so there is a little bit of truth to it. But now we have so much research to show that there's a lot of benefit to hitting your steps. So I wanted to get into that. So today we're going to talk about the benefits, what NEAT is, and how you can leverage it for your fat loss goals, but just health in general. So all the way back in 1965, there was a Japanese step tracker company called Monpo Kai. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's Japanese for 10,000 steps. And they kind of came up with that goal. And then, so that's in the 60s, right? 1965. And then years later, in 2009, Fitbit launched. And so they kind of ran with that idea. And they made it into like this big thing that it is these days. And they really got a lot of hype with that too. And as much as it's a little hypey and it did start in marketing, I'm very happy that that kind of became a thing because it's so key for health and longevity and so much. And by the way, I'm still a little stuffy. I caught COVID just about a week and a half ago, and I'm definitely still kind of like noticing it. So just so you know, that's why sometimes I sound a little weird. But okay, good thing that it happened. Good thing that it became a thing, because we can all do with getting active, getting outside, especially being out in nature, all great stuff. But let's go back a little, because that's kind of like the thing that kind of pushed me to write the article, and we'll share it in the show notes as well. But why is NEAT important? Now, you might be surprised that NEAT, so your daily movement, aka all the movement that's like basically outside of the workout that you may be doing, whether it's at the gym or run, whatever, that daily movement accounts for 3 times as many calories burned as exercising. So if we look at your total daily energy expenditure, big word for how many calories you burn on a daily basis, there's really 4 factors. We're going to dive into one, which is NEAT. But the other 3 are, first of all, BMR, that's 70%. And that's literally just your body doing the bare minimum, your organs working, like you're staying alive, your heart's beating, you're breathing, like those kind of things. Pretty important stuff. That is 70%. 70%. Now, then we get to NEAT. NEAT is 15. So 15% of your total daily energy expenditure is through daily movement that includes walking, talking, moving with your hands, right? Blinking, twitching, any, like literally any movement, doing chores around the house, dancing. Then we get to the third component, which is thermic effect of food, TEF. That's 10%. You can kind of leverage that by eating a diet high in fiber and protein, but that's 10%. Just the calories burned through digestion. And then 5% on average is exercise. Only 5%. So you now start to see that, hey, even though a lot of people focus on burning calories through exercise, it's not really your best bet. And a lot of times, if we're thinking of the metabolism adapting, a lot of times if you go really hard, your non-exercise activity might actually go down, even without you realizing. So there's a lot of stuff to keep in mind there. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't exercise. You 100% should. Lift your weights, do a little bit of cardio. But here's the thing. For the right reasons. We exercise to get better, fitter, stronger, faster. We fall in love with the process of becoming, stronger, and we see that progress and we just get really into it and we get better with the movements. That's why we train. It's for health, it's for building muscle, fitness. That's what that's for, not just to burn calories. Now, going back to NEAT, why it's so important. During your fat loss phase, your body will try to adapt a little by making you move less. You're going to feel a little bit less likely to kind of get off the couch, even like blinking and fidgeting, like it kind of like goes down without you realizing. Then on the other hand, when you eat more, and I put people in a surplus or we start a muscle gaining phase, a lot of times when we eat a little bit more, you will start to move more, even without you realizing. So we want to pay attention to that non-exercise activity throughout every phase, because here's the thing. Especially during fat loss, your body will try to kind of slow down. So I want to look at those steps. And this is where NEAT and steps kind of like, because steps is just a way to measure it. We're not going to know calories burned. That's impossible. We just talked about total daily energy expenditure and those different factors, but we're not going to be able to calculate that. Like, no way. That's impossible outside of a lab setting. And every fitness tracker out there, including the more expensive and the better ones, unfortunately, are very inaccurate. There was a 2022 study that showed even like the newer devices being like up to 50% incorrect. And that's including Apple Watch, your Fitbits, your Garmins, and those kind of things. Not saying that they're useless, but they are definitely not inaccurate. They're definitely not accurate in terms of calories burned. So let's instead look at steps so that we can track your NEAT, so that we can then control that and look at, hey, okay, maybe we're in the fat loss phase, knowing that those steps are very important, NEAT. And I'm kind of using them interchangeably here, but steps is just a way to measure your daily movement. Hey, let's pay attention to it, because a lot of times we'll see people kind of go into a fat loss phase and then steps kind of go down a little bit. I always tell them, like, hey, let's bring those up again. This is what happens. Your weight has been also kind of like, you're still losing, but it's like a little bit slower. Okay, right? Let's dial that in. Now, that is why I'm so big on steps. That's why we're doing that step challenge. But that's only one reason, because it's way more than just fat loss and calories burned. And it's going to help you actually eat a little bit more, lose weight, lose fat more effectively, keep the weight off more effectively. But it also helps you improve insulin sensitivity, lower blood pressure, improve blood sugar levels. It's going to be a little bit more stable, especially if you go on like a walk right after your meal. It can do that, as well as improve digestion. It can improve other health markers like cholesterol levels, like just so much. Like the list goes on and on and on. There's also a study that kind of showed that post-meal walks improve digestion and alleviates symptoms of conditions like IBS. So there's a lot of reasons to really get into a little bit more movement, maybe adding a walk after your meal, for example. Which, by the way, adding a walk here and there can also be a very good way to de-stress. Walking in general is very good for you, but especially in nature. So there was actually another study. I know that I'm referencing a lot of studies, which, by the way, most of them are also in the blog. But there's a study which is really cool. They looked at people going on a walk in like an urban environment in a city, and then another group going into like a green area, a green zone, like a park, for example, a forest. And they both showed that it worked, de-stressing. Cortisol was lower. However, the people who went out in the green zones, they actually saw more improvements in cortisol. And by the way, lowering cortisol was only one outcome. They also increased dopamine and serotonin, which is awesome. So we're feeling better, we're lowering stress. And which, by the way, if we're looking at stress management, fancy word, maybe we'll bring that topic back as well. But what does it mean? We're just trying to do more things that kind of put us in a parasympathetic state, maybe like a little bit, like a rest and digest state where we slow down, we get some stillness. That's where you recover. Like that's where we want to be for the most part when we're like, not training, for example. Like, no, like training that's when you want to be alert. That's that fight or flight. But then to recover, we want to manage our stress. We want to be in a parasympathetic state. Walking can help you there. Now, if that is not enough, going on a morning walk, especially when you get a little bit of light in your eyes, it can actually help you support your circadian rhythm, support melatonin production in the evening. By the way, if you go out in the sun, you can even get some vitamin D. So there's so many reasons. I could let you keep going on. Like your mental clarity is better. Usually, right, if you struggle being productive, like you go for a walk, you come back, you're full of ideas. And yeah, I mean, I'm very passionate about this stuff, about walking and just going out more. And it doesn't even have to be like an actual hike. Just go around the block, It's so key. It's so key. It's super good for you. But I could ramble on about the benefits, but here's something else that I think I want to show you. And this is a study we've talked about multiple times. I've posted about this many times. It's kind of like the last part of like the benefits section here, but we got to bring this up because the outcome is sick. So here's the thing. The 10K steps that we talked about, is it just marketing or is there actually something to it? Is there research to show that, hey, 10K is a good amount? Yes, there is. So there was a 2020 meta-analysis, which is a study that collects data from a bunch of different studies and then, right, looks at a certain, outcome. Now, a 2020 meta-analysis with over 4,800 participants. So that's a lot of people, which is good. We always want to have a lot of data. They found that compared to taking 4 steps a day, people who hit anywhere between 8,000 and 12,000 steps per day saw a much lower risk of all-cause mortality. What is all-cause mortality? It's death of all cause. So there was a significant association there. Now, not just that, they also saw a lower risk of cardiovascular disease and cancer. So I feel like that's something we got to repeat, right? So compared to 4,000 steps, and if you go to the blog, you'll see a really cool graph as well. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen me post this over and over again. I bring it back every now and then. But you'll see, if you're watching on video, you'll see there's a graph that starts with 0 steps and then 2, 4, 6, 8, all the way up to like 14,000. And there's a clear drop all the way from like no movement to 2,004, 6, 8. And then around 8,000, 8 to 10,000, it starts to flatten out. And then after that, so 12, 14, whatever, there's no additional benefit. So I want to tell people too, like, hey, at some point it is enough. It's cool to walk more. And we'll have people in fat loss phases walk a lot more compared to maybe like their initial start where they join us. They're maybe getting less than 8,000 steps in. Okay, cool. Like, let's first bring you there. Cool. Awesome. Now, hey, in fat loss phase, like, let's challenge you a little bit. Let's go for 10,000 or more to really support the calories burned that we talked about. But again, so between 8 and 10, I'd say for most people is going to be beneficial. 8 to 12 maybe. but it needs to be doable for you as well. Hey, if you can bring it up to 8K steps, and that's for you, that's your max, amazing, I'm happy. Like, let's keep you there in that case. Now, how many calories does it burn? I don't necessarily like, there's a difference in like 100 calories or 1,000 or whatever. Like, it's going to be different for everyone. And you'll see this in the blog too. So I did pull a little bit of data from a few studies to kind of compare, okay, what NEAT, kind of burns most calories. But take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, don't look at the actual numbers, just look at the difference. So you see kind of like sitting versus standing. And like you kind of burn more calories like standing. You even see like chewing gum, fidgeting like really start to add up. But then you see walking, stair climbing, okay, then you see that kind of go up. You do burn a few more calories when you walk a little bit faster, which kind of makes sense. Like, hey, I mean, first of all, it's a little bit more intense, but you're also walking more, or you're getting more walking done, right? in less time, basically. So there's that. And I do want to mention, kind of going back to the study, the intensity, although it does kind of turn or play into the calories burned to a certain extent, it did not seem to have additional benefits for any of the health outcomes. Now, with that, you can also imagine that there's a huge difference between someone who works behind a desk, like myself, sitting here doing my podcast, do my coaching, I stand or I sit kind of. There's a big difference between that and someone who is maybe a shop assistant, store manager. Hey, maybe you work on a farm, maybe you're a construction worker, etc. There's going to be a huge difference. Also there, like in my blog, you'll see a graph kind of comparing, how many calories. But again, there, I don't like to say, hey, if you do this work, you're going to be burning like 1,000 more calories than this person. Like, no, there's so many factors there. But the point here is to show you how big of a difference it can be. It's less important about the actual calories. But that plays a massive role, and that's included right in that NEAT. So as much as exercise most definitely counts, definitely, we need to remember that there's more to it. There's more to a day than just exercise. And remember, we want to do that for the right reasons. Now, how does that non-exercise activity really help with our fat loss or weight loss? Now, again, we talked about calories burned. The 5% of exercise is just not that much. And here's the nice thing, because at some point, when you already work out, more is not necessarily better. Less can be better. We want to manage stress. And when you're in a diet, you want to manage stress already even more, because a calorie deficit is a massive stressor to the body. We don't always see it like that, or we don't know that, but that is literally how the body perceives it. It thinks, hey, fuck, there's not enough food. This is a threat to the system. This is not good for survival. Now, we want to do it, for example, too, and I mean, like, getting more steps in, keeping your NEAT in a good place. We want to do that too from a standpoint of, hey, we're doing more movement, but then without the added stress response. So we're not adding more stress to the body. If anything, it can help you lower stress. It's also way less impact. Hey, if you keep running like super hard, it's a lot of impact on your joints. We're more prone to injury. We're at risk of injury when we're dieting. So there's a lot to keep, in mind there. And the low intensity movement, I know it doesn't sound as sexy and it doesn't feel like you're doing that much, but it does a ton. So once again, if you just aim for your steps instead of worrying about that fucking fitness watch that tells you that you burn a few hundred calories, like, first of all, it's not going to be that much. And two, you now know that those steps are more important. And then if you're at 10K, just kind of stick to that, If you want to go up to 12, that's fine, but it doesn't always have to be more and more and more. So you now see too that there's way more reasons to hit your steps. A lot of times people also think that their metabolism slows down as they age, etc., which there's some truth to that. And that's because when people get older, they usually work out less, they move a little bit less, they build less muscle, they lose some muscle. Those are the actual factors. So indirectly, it usually has to do with age, but it's not because of that. It's because people don't burn as many calories anymore through movement and through that muscle, because muscle is included in the BMR that we talked about a little while ago. When you lose that or you don't build that, right, your metabolism eventually kind of slows down. So at least with our steps here, we can keep your activity factor up. And we can literally lower the risk of all-cause mortality. That's a huge reason to do it. Even if that's it, I would say it's it's kind of worth it, right? It's also something we can all do, unless we're injured, but we can do it. We can use it to also manage stress and maybe listen to a podcast or maybe do some meditation or brainstorm, whatever you want to do. So many reasons. And from personal experience, like anytime I have a hard time coming up with content, or I'm trying to work through something for the business, or maybe a client who's dealing with something, or we're working on something where, hey, we're trying to figure out like a good solution, or hey, a different approach for a different person. It's usually when you walk when you get those best ideas. So use that as a tip too. Hey, maybe if you're dealing with stress at work or school, whatever it is, go for a walk. Like, get outside a little bit more, and don't go too hard on yourself either, because we need to slow down sometimes. We need to have our breaks. And I think with these days being always like go, 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 like, yes, we need to work hard. That's of course, right? We need to. However, we need to recharge as well, because you're only going to go so far and then you'll hit a wall. So I hope this kind of gave you a new look at steps and why low intensity walking can be very nice, and how just focusing on your need can massively improve your health, can massively improve your fat loss results, and also help you keep it off. That's why I wanted to bring this back. I know we talked about this. I think it was episode 7. From the top of my head, I think it was episode 7 when we talked about this. Today's episode 70. Super cool. Let's bring it back with episode 700, shall we? No, but all joking aside though, like, do not neglect your steps. Like, grab your phone. I know, because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have a step tracker. That's cool. Every phone these days has one. You go to your Apple Health or Google, whatever, you look it up. It's maybe not 100% accurate, but it's fine. At least it correlates to you moving around. See where you're at. Hey, is it only 3,000? Cool. Let's go to 3,500. And then maybe 4, and then maybe 4,500. Client of mine, Lynn, she came to me and she really struggled, even getting to like 7 or 8, I think, in the beginning. And that cost a lot of effort to get to that point. And now she just hits 10K on a daily basis, and it's like the new norm. Why is that? Well, we tracked steps, which we then used to hold her accountable. And then now it's just something she does. It's just the thing that's ingrained in her. It's a habit. She's now the person who is active. It's not even a difficult thing, or like we don't even have to remind her anymore. She just does it, which is great. So we want to get you to that point too. And it's way less about the number. Sure, we want to check it from time to time, but it's more about the health benefits and you actually feeling good and being that active person. So going back to what I started this, I was going to say presentation, started this podcast with, the Steptember challenge. If you want, use that as your reason to now kick back into kind of like an active state, active mood, whatever you want to call it. And I'm very excited for it too, because I need some movement as well. I've just been down with COVID for like 10 days. I've still worked, but it's not been great. I still have a little bit of a fever every now and then. I definitely notice it right now, but like, it's going to be good just to get outside. It's going to be good to get moving, and then also have someone, me, right, to ask questions to, and be involved in our community, and ask people questions and say, hey, like, what do you guys do for meal prep? Or, hey, like, I'm struggling with my protein. Like, how can I hit it? What's a healthy meal? There's so many things. Hey, I'm dealing with stress or sleep or emotional eating or whatever it may be. We all have things that we struggle with. But here's the cool thing. When you join our community, which you'll get free access to when you sign up for the challenge, We can talk about these kind of things. And trust me, like there's a lot of people who've been there, who worked through it, who can already give you some tips and save you time and save you energy. And you have access to me as well. And then we're doing the live Q&As, the live trading. So a lot of reasons to check this out, right? Like I said, it's going to be the only step challenge that we're going to be doing every single year. So if you are ready to take action and you don't want to wait a full year to actually take your health serious, then I highly encourage you to sign up to the Steptember challenge. I will drop the link down below in the show notes. I will be back on Monday with another guest episode, Jenny Blake. Very excited to share that one with you. She was awesome. We talked about building muscle, the importance of eating enough, periodization, specifically for females. So she has a lot of female clients. So you want to stick around for that one. But again, sign up for Steptember first. Like that's the number one step you got to take right now. Go to the show notes. Make sure to sign up. It's $20, right? We started in 4 days. Be there. I'm excited. I'm going to do it with you. And of course, if you have any questions first, hit me up on Instagram. Cool? I'll talk to you Monday.